Lieutenant Robert Bram peers through the frost-rimmed canopy of his Bristol Beaufighter as it slices through the pitch-black night over the North Sea. It's 2:47 a.m. on December 14th, 1941. In the cramped rear cockpit, Flight Sergeant William "Sticks" Gregory hunches over his charts, pencils scraping against paper, while he recalculates their position for the third time in 20 minutes. His hands are shaking, not from fear, but from a cold so brutal it claws through the thin aluminum skin of the aircraft. Outside, the temperature hangs at minus 15 degrees Celsius. Inside, it's barely warmer. Even with thick gloves, his fingers can hardly hold the pencil. They're supposed to be heading home to RAF Wittering after another fruitless patrol, searching for German bombers over the English Channel. But something is terribly, terribly wrong with his numbers. According to Gregory's dead reckoning navigation, factoring in wind speed and direction, they should be nearing the English coast around Norfolk by now. His stopwatch, however, tells a different story. They've been flying homeward for 43 minutes. At their cruising speed of 280 miles per hour, that puts them... His stomach drops like a stone. That puts them at least 60 miles past where they should be. He's made a catastrophic mistake. Instead of subtracting degrees to compensate for the strong northeasterly wind pushing them off course, he added them. The kind of error that kills aircrews without a trace. The kind that ends with a bullfighter plunging into the icy North Sea, and no one ever knowing why. "Sticks, where the hell are we?" Bram's voice crackles over the intercom, tight with tension beneath the static. "We should be seeing the coast by now." Gregory opens his mouth to confess, to admit they're hopelessly lost over enemy-controlled waters. But before a single word escapes, Bram's voice cuts in again, sharp, urgent. "Wait! Lights! Dead ahead!" Multiple lights. In that frozen moment, neither man realizes it yet. Gregory's mathematical blunder hasn't doomed them. It's about to deliver into British hands the exact location of one of Nazi Germany's most closely guarded secret airfields. A discovery that will shift the balance of the night air war and save thousands of Allied lives. By December 1941, the Luftwaffe's night bombing campaign against Britain has become a deadly, shadowy game of cat and mouse. After the savage blitz of 1940 and 1941, German bomber crews have grown cunning. They no longer come in huge, easily tracked formations that British radar can spot from miles away. Instead, they strike from secret forward airfields hidden along the occupied coast of Europe, launching small, precise raids against British cities and factories under cover of darkness. British intelligence knows these hidden bases must exist. German bombers keep appearing over targets with chilling regularity. Yet reconnaissance flights over known Luftwaffe fields in France, Belgium, and the Netherlands show only normal activity. The math is simple and terrifying. The Germans are operating from airfields the British have never found. The cost is paid in blood and shattered homes. Between September and December 1941, German night raiders kill 1,470 British civilians and wreck countless factories, warehouses, and vital infrastructure. RAF Fighter Command throws everything into the fight. More night patrols, new radar stations along the coast, dangerous daylight reconnaissance missions over occupied Europe, desperately hunting for those phantom bases. The results? Dismal. In 3 months of relentless searching, RAF reconnaissance identifies only 2 previously unknown German airfields, both minor. Meanwhile, the night bombers strike again and again, almost untouched. The Luftwaffe secrecy is masterful. Strict radio silence, camouflage netting, dummy buildings. Aircraft constantly shuffled between bases so British analysts can't track units. Air Chief Marshal Sir Sholto Douglas, commanding RAF Fighter Command, faces a nightmare. His night fighters are searching blind over endless empty sea. The numbers are grim. In November 1941, RAF night fighters fly 847 combat patrols, yet score only 12 confirmed kills, a success rate of just 1.4%. For every German bomber shot down, the British burn 18,000 gallons of precious aviation fuel and risk countless aircrews in perilous night operations. The experts inside RAF intelligence agree on one depressing truth. Without better radar, without breakthroughs in signals intelligence, without revolutionary detection gear that simply doesn't exist yet, they cannot find those secret fields. Squadron leader Derek Jackson, one of the RAF's finest radar specialists, writes in a classified memo dated November 28, 1941. The current generation of airborne radar cannot reliably detect ground installations from safe operational altitudes. We are asking our aircrews to search for needles in a haystack the size of continental Europe. The stakes reach far beyond the night sky. Codebreakers at Bletchley Park are slowly cracking German ciphers, but they need hard, physical evidence to confirm their work. Find one secret airfield, watch its operations, and they can match it against decoded messages, proving their methods correct and unlocking even more secrets. Prime Minister Winston Churchill himself is furious. In a War Cabinet meeting on December 10, 1941, he slams his fist on the table and roars, "We are being struck by an invisible enemy. This is intolerable. I want those airfields found, and I want them found now." 4 days later, on a freezing night over the North Sea, Flight Sergeant William Gregory is about to give Churchill exactly what he demanded. Though in a way no one, least of all Churchill, could ever have imagined. William Gregory is no one's picture of a war hero. At 23 years old, he's a quiet former grocery clerk from Nottingham who joined the RAF in 1939 because shelving tins of beans felt smaller than the world burning around him. He barely scraped through navigation training at RAF Cranwell, finishing 47th out of 52 students. His instructors wrote in his file, "Adequate mathematical skills tends to rush calculations, requires additional supervision." That was putting it kindly. Gregory knows he's no natural navigator. Some of his classmates could feel the stars in their bones, could dead reckon across oceans in their sleep. Not him. He has to fight for every bearing, every correction. He carries a battered notebook crammed with formulas and wind tables, glancing at it constantly because the numbers never stay straight in his head. His pilot, Lieutenant Robert Bram, is almost his mirror opposite. At just 20, Bram is already an ace with 7 confirmed kills. Cool as ice under fire. Decisive. Blessed with that rare gift that makes flying look effortless. Instructors still talk about the way he handles a Beaufighter, like the aircraft is an extension of his own body. And yet, Bram is patient with his navigator in a way no one else is. While other pilots grumble about their backseaters, Bram never complains. He seems to understand that Gregory is trying, really trying, even when the results fall short. On the night of December 14th, 1941, they're flying their 3rd patrol of the week. Bone-tiring work. Take off from RAF Wittering at 11:30 p.m. Climb into the endless black. Fly search patterns over the North Sea for hours, eyes straining for any sign of German bombers that might never come. The cold is merciless, the darkness absolute. Only the faint green glow of the instrument panel, and the occasional glimpse of stars through ragged clouds. Gregory's moment of truth doesn't come with a flash of genius. It comes from sheer desperation, rechecking his sums again and again as Bram reports lights ahead. He works backward. Takeoff time, airspeed, headings, wind data from the Met officer before departure. And then he sees it, clear as day. He's been applying the wind correction in the wrong direction for the entire homeward leg. Panic floods him first. They're not approaching England. They're flying deeper into enemy territory, somewhere over the Netherlands or northern Germany. Those lights Bram sees aren't British. They're German. But the second thought changes everything. If those are German lights, if they're this far from any known Luftwaffe base, and there are multiple lights suggesting a big installation, then they've stumbled onto something huge. Bob. Gregory's voice is tight over the intercom. Those aren't our lights. We're over enemy territory. I made a navigation error. We're approximately 60 miles east of where we should be. A long silence. Then Bram, calm, impossibly calm. Well then, Sticks, let's take a closer look, shall we? Bram banks the Beaufighter gently, easing the throttles back, beginning a slow descent to 6,000 feet. Gregory's heart pounds like it's trying to break free of his ribs. Everything about this is insane. They're deep in enemy airspace, no authorization, no backup, barely enough fuel for the long flight home even if they turn now. If German night fighters scramble, they're dead. If flak batteries open up, dead. If they simply run out of fuel over the North Sea, dead. But Bram keeps descending. 5,000 feet. 4,000. The lights sharpen, grow clearer. Gregory cranes his neck from his rear-facing seat, straining to see past the tail. Not just lights now. Dozens of lights, arranged in unmistakable patterns. I'm seeing runway lights, Bram says, voice steady even as they flirt with disaster. Multiple runways, large installation, aircraft on the ground. I count at least 20 aircraft, maybe more. Gregory's frozen fingers fumble with his equipment, trying to fix their exact position. The shaking is worse now, but it's adrenaline, not cold. He takes bearings on the lights, cross-references, scribbles frantic notes. They have to be able to find this place again. They have to tell intelligence exactly where it is. There are bombers down there, Bram continues. Heinkel 111s, Junkers 88s. This is a major bomber base, Sticks. This is exactly what intelligence has been tearing their hair out looking for. The Beaufighter orbits wide at 3,500 feet. Gregory takes more bearings, more notes. He can see the layout clearly now. 3 runways in a classic triangle. Dozens of aircraft dispersed around the edges. Hangars, fuel dumps, barracks, administrative buildings. This isn't some forward strip. This is a full-scale Luftwaffe bomber station. And then the night erupts. Searchlights snap on like white-hot spears, stabbing into the sky, sweeping, hunting. Tracers arc upward, bright red chains reaching for them. The Germans know they have company. Time to leave, Bram says, almost conversational. He slams the throttles wide open and throws the Beaufighter into a steep diving turn. The aircraft shudders as flak bursts crack nearby, close enough that Gregory hears the sharp detonations over the roaring engines. They're running for their lives now, clawing westward at full power. Searchlights fade behind. Tracers fall away. Gregory keeps working through the chaos, refining calculations, triple-checking bearings, because he knows what's waiting when they land. He'll have to explain how they ended up here. He'll have to admit the mistake that nearly killed them. He'll face an inquiry, possibly a court-martial, almost certainly the end of his flying career. but is also about to hand British intelligence the biggest breakthrough of the air war. And in that moment, it feels worth it. They touch down at RAF Wittering at 4:23 a.m., tanks almost dry. Bram taxis to dispersal and cuts the engines. For a long moment, both men just sit there, breathing. Then Bram's voice, quiet over the intercom one last time. "Sticks, whatever happens next, we did the right thing. Remember that." The debrief begins immediately. Flight Lieutenant James Harrington, the intelligence officer, listens to their report with growing disbelief. When Gregory confesses his navigation error, Harrington's face hardens. When Bram describes the massive airfield they saw, Harrington's skepticism turns to scorn. "Let me get this straight," Harrington says, voice dripping acid. "You flew 60 miles off course because of a navigation blunder. You then deliberately penetrated deep into enemy airspace without orders. You descended low over what you claim is a secret German bomber base. And you expect me to believe all this based on a moonlight glimpse by a crew that was completely lost?" "Sir, I have the exact coordinates," Gregory says, sliding his notebook across the table. "Multiple bearings. I can show you precisely where it is." Harrington barely looks at the pages. "Flight Sergeant, you've already admitted to a catastrophic error. Why should I trust a single calculation you made that night? For all we know, you spotted a Dutch civilian field and panicked." The argument heats up. Bram, usually so calm, raises his voice. "I know what I saw, sir. That was a major Luftwaffe bomber station. At least 20 bombers on the ground. At night, from 3,500 feet, while being shot at," Harrington snaps. "Your report is noted, Lieutenant, but I cannot recommend action on such questionable intelligence." He pauses. "You're both grounded pending full investigation into this unauthorized incursion." By breakfast, the story has spread through the squadron like wildfire. Gregory faces pity from some, outright ridicule from others. Most senior officers agree. Gregory botched it badly and is now spinning a wild tale to save face. But one man believes them. Wing Commander Basil Embry, the station commander. A maverick with a chest full of medals from his own daring missions, reads Harrington's dismissive report and makes a decision. On December 15, 1941, Wing Commander Basil Embry summons them to his office. The room crackles with tension. Bram and Gregory stand at attention. Harrington is there, arms crossed. Squadron Leader Derek Jackson from Intelligence. Group Captain Victor Beamish, the Sector Commander. All the heavy hitters. Embry doesn't waste time. "Gentlemen," he begins, voice like gravel. "We have a potential intelligence breakthrough sitting in front of us, and I will not let it be buried just because it arrived in an unorthodox package." Harrington jumps in immediately. "Sir, with respect, we cannot launch operations based on a sighting from a crew that was admittedly lost. The risk—" "That's exactly my point," Jackson cuts in, shaking his head. "We've chased every proper lead for months and come up empty. Now we're dismissing the one thing that falls in our lap because a navigator got his sums wrong? The odds of accidentally stumbling on a major secret base are astronomical." The room explodes. Voices overlap. Harrington argues that sending reconnaissance would waste precious resources. Jackson warns that even if the field exists, the Germans will have cleared it the moment they were spotted. Beamish frets about losing a valuable Spitfire and pilot on what could be a fool's errand. Embry lets the storm rage for 5 full minutes. Then he slams his palm on the desk so hard the teacups rattle. Enough! The room falls dead silent. Here's what we're going to do, he says, eyes sweeping over every man. Tomorrow morning, we send one single reconnaissance Spitfire to Flight Sergeant Gregory's coordinates. If the airfield is there, we've just handed Fighter Command the biggest intelligence coup of the year. If it's not, we've lost one sortie. That is a gamble I'm prepared to take. He turns to Gregory, gaze piercing. Flight Sergeant, you'd better be right about this, because if you're wrong, your career is finished. Gregory swallows, throat dry. I'm right, sir. I stake my life on it. Dawn breaks clear and bitterly cold over eastern England on December 16, 1941. At RAF Benson, Flight Lieutenant Anthony Tony Hill straps into his Spitfire Photo Reconnaissance Mark IV, a sleek, unarmed bird stripped of guns and painted pale blue for high-altitude camouflage. His orders are straightforward. Fly to Gregory's coordinates, photograph whatever is there, get home alive. He's heard the scuttlebutt. Half the intelligence Wallace think this is a wild goose chase. The other half are praying the lost Beaufighter crew somehow struck gold. Hill lifts off at 8:47 a.m., climbs steadily to 28,000 feet, and sets course across the North Sea toward the Dutch coast. At that height, he's above most flak. The sky is flawless, visibility unlimited. Perfect for the cameras humming in his wings. He reaches the coordinates at 9:34 a.m., and what he sees below makes him forget to breathe. There, laid out exactly where Gregory said it would be, sprawls a massive airfield. Hill rolls into his first task, cameras whirring. Then a second, then a third. He counts 43 aircraft dispersed on the ground, bombers, fighters, transports. He photographs the 3 runways, the hangars, fuel dumps, barracks, every detail sharp in the morning light. When he touches down back at Benson at 11:12 a.m., he's grinning ear to ear. It's there, he tells the swarm of intelligence officers waiting on the tarmac. Everything they described, it's all there. This is the real thing. The films are rushed into development. Prints race to RAF intelligence at Bentley Priory. By evening, they land on Air Chief Marshal Sholto Douglas's desk. The verdict is unanimous. This is Hilsereichen Airfield in the Netherlands, a major Luftwaffe bomber station British intelligence never knew existed. Post-war German records will later confirm it was home to Kampfgeschwader 30, equipped with Junkers 88s, striking British cities nightly since September. The impact hits like a thunderbolt. Within 24 hours, Bomber Command begins planning a full-scale raid. But first, they watch. For 3 weeks, reconnaissance Spitfires and Mosquitoes visit Hilsereichen daily. Signals intelligence listens to every whisper of radio traffic. The picture sharpens into perfect focus. This is one of the Luftwaffe's primary bases for night attacks on Britain. On January 7, 1942, the hammer falls. 48 Bristol Blenheim bombers, escorted by Spitfires, roar over Hilsereichen in broad daylight. The raid is devastating. Bombs obliterate 2 hangars, tear up the main runway, destroy or cripple 17 German aircraft on the ground. 23 Germans killed, 41 wounded. Hilsereichen is silenced for 11 precious days. But the true value stretches far beyond one successful strike. British intelligence now knows exactly what to hunt for: inland coastal placement, camouflage patterns, aircraft dispersal techniques. Using Hilsereichen as the template, they identify 3 more secret fields within a month: Leeuwarden, Soesterberg, and Schiphol, each a hidden dagger aimed at Britain's heart. The numbers tell a story of dramatic reversal. In the 3 months before Hilsereichen's discovery, German night bombers flew 347 sorties against Britain, losing only 3.7%. In the 3 months after the secret fields began taking punishment, sorties dropped to 198, and losses climbed to 8.4%. British night fighters, now patrolling near known launch points, improved their kill ratio by 127%. The human toll shifts just as sharply. Civilian deaths from German night bombing fall from an average of 416 per month, September to December 1941, to 187 per month, January to March 1942. 687 British lives saved in 3 months alone, directly because the secret bases were disrupted. From the German side, a bomber pilot named Klaus Hübner with Kampfgeschwader 30 wrote in his diary after the January raid, "The British have found us. Our sanctuary is no longer safe. We thought we were invisible, but somehow they have pierced our veil of secrecy. Morale is suffering. The men know we are now vulnerable, that the British bombers will return." And return they did. Between January and June 1942, RAF Bomber Command hits the 4 discovered secret airfields in 17 separate raids. 127 German aircraft destroyed or damaged on the ground. 342 German personnel killed or wounded. Vital Luftwaffe resources diverted to defense instead of offense. For Gregory and Bram, vindication arrives swiftly. They're taken off the grounded list and thrown back into night patrols, now with priceless knowledge of where the enemy bombers rise from. On February 23, 1942, Bram bags a Heinkel 111 near Hilse Rhein, his 8th kill. He will end the war as one of the RAF's top night fighter aces. 29 confirmed victories.
Gregory stays as his navigator through 1942 and into 1943.
Despite his shaky beginning, he grows into one of the most trusted navigators in the squadron. Later evaluations praise him. Exceptional attention to detail, willingness to double and triple check work, a model for others. In March 1942, a letter arrives from a Blenheim pilot Gregory has never met, Flight Lieutenant Michael Stevens, part of the January 7th raid. Stevens writes, "I was over Hilse Rhein that day. We destroyed bombers that would have killed British civilians. We disrupted operations that would have cost British lives. Because of your discovery, because you admitted your mistake and reported what you saw, my crew and I came home safe. Because of you, we came home." The full ripple effect of that one freezing night isn't revealed until after the war, when files are declassified in 1949. Historians pore over the records and stand amazed. Hilse Rhein's discovery directly leads to 17 additional secret or heavily camouflaged Luftwaffe airfields identified across occupied Europe by the end of 1942. The analytical methods honed on Hilse Rhein, understanding German site selection, camouflage, dispersal, become standard for Allied photo interpreters. Those same techniques later uncover V-weapon sites, U-boat pens, radar installations. The final tally is staggering. From January 1942 to May 1945, Allied bombers strike 347 raids on airfields first located using Hilse Rhein-derived methods. 4,127 German aircraft destroyed or damaged on the ground. 11,430 German personnel killed or captured. Countless bombing missions against Allied cities and armies prevented.
Air Chief Marshal Sir Sholto Douglas, in his post-war memoirs published in 1963, reflects, "The discovery of Hilse Rhein was a turning point in the air war over Europe. It proved German secrecy, though brilliant, was not unbreakable. It gave us the tools and confidence to hunt down their hidden infrastructure systematically. And it all began because a young navigator made a mistake and had the courage to report what he found." Today, the principle that vital intelligence can emerge from accidents, errors, even disasters, is taught in military intelligence schools around the world. The United States Air Force Intelligence School at Goodfellow Air Force Base uses the Hilse Rhein discovery as a core case study. emphasizing the importance of reporting every observation, no matter how it was obtained. As for William Gregory himself, he shunned the spotlight. After the war, he returned to Nottingham, managed a grocery store until retirement in 1979. Reporters who tracked him down were gently turned away. He always deflected praise, to Bram's cool decision to investigate, to Embry's guts in believing them, to the reconnaissance and bomber crews who turned raw coordinates into thunder and fire. In 1988, at age 70, he gave one long interview to an RAF historian. His closing words sum up the man. "I made a mistake, a potentially fatal mistake. But Bob Bram had the sense to look closer. Wing Commander Embry had the courage to trust us. I was just the navigator who got the math wrong. They were the real heroes." Flight Sergeant William "Sticks" Gregory passed away in 1994 at age 76. His local obituary mentioned his wartime service in a single line. But in the classified archives of RAF intelligence, in the history books of the air war over Europe, his name stands forever beside one of the greatest intelligence triumphs of the Second World War. All because, on one icy night in December 1941, he subtracted when he should have added, and accidentally changed the course of history.